Welcome to Transport Vlog and the voice of Paul. This is another Chatswood Dive site update video covering the 11th of June to the 7th of July 2022. However, I'm going to start by going back a few weeks to the 29th of April. This was just before the last section of the existing Sydney Metro tracks were moved slightly to connect better with the future dive site tracks. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but I felt that it was important to mention. Just after the end of the black fencing is where the track was realigned, and this is how it looked before it was moved. Most obvious was the grey cloth buffer stops. These images from the Sydney Metro website show the track alignment work that happened during a weekend track possession on the 7th and 8th of May 2022. This is on the 9th of May, so the day after this work finished. Where the ballast changes colour is where the realigned section starts. Both the track and sleepers were replaced. The cloth buffers have gone, replaced by something more temporary. This is towards Chatswood before the tracks were realigned. And now after. I haven't been able to find out or figure out how the alignment changed. Maybe the tracks are now slightly further apart or have shifted further to the left or right, or perhaps they are slightly lower or higher than before. If you work on the Sydney Metro project or have some inside knowledge, please do share this in the comments below. So now jumping to the 11th of June, which was a week after the last footage in my previous update. This is on a train towards Artarmon. Two rails are now resting on the northbound track slab. These have appeared within the last 7 days. And just here, two rails are also appearing on the southbound track slab. These concrete supports are new and are possibly for future electrification stanchions. And in the northbound tunnel exit, two new rails from within the tunnel are now visible, and it looks like these have started to be fastened into place. No further changes are visible from here, so let's take a look in the opposite direction. All the orange and white conduits are now in place. Orange is for power or signalling and white is for data or communications. No further changes to the fencing since my last update. The tracks are already in position at this end of the southbound line. You can also see the black track fastenings alongside. The rails then continue without the fastenings running alongside until they end just here. Here is another view of the rails for the northbound line, which currently extend to here. Now 5 days later on the 16th of June, and the southbound track is now starting to be fastened into place at the tunnel end, using the fastenings that were alongside the tracks 5 days earlier. There are a few more fastenings just here, ready for the next bit. Then from here onwards it's the same as the previous footage. It's now 6 days later on the 22nd of June, and just over 50 sleepers have appeared. The rails for both lines now extend almost to this end of the construction site, and some extra pieces of rail have appeared as well. I reckon these extra pieces of rail will be used to connect these new tracks to the existing line. Further down, you can see these bars across the track to help maintain the track gauge until the fastenings are attached. No sign of any fastenings for the northbound line as yet, except for some immediately at the tunnel exit. No further changes that are visible from here, so let's take a look in the other direction. There was a track work possession on the North Shore line the weekend before the 22nd of June, and that allowed this area with the orange and white conduits to be filled in, so it's no longer visible, but we will always know what is under this soil. All the remaining fencing over the southbound tunnel entrance has now been added. This was also done on the same track work weekend. And all the fencing over the west side of the northbound tunnel exit was completed on this weekend as well. With the southbound line now coming into view, it looks like they started by adding the fastenings at every third set of holes. These metal strips that have just appeared along the east retaining wall are likely to be for future cabling conduits. Besides the horizontal bars between the tracks, you can now see further horizontal bars on the retaining wall to help keep the track in position. On this side, all the remaining bits of fencing have now been added, except for this little gap here. The fencing on the east side still has a number of gaps, which I guess will be filled closer to completion. This is where the fencing currently ends. This is to leave space to add the future electrification stanchions to these concrete supports. Here is some footage from the Mowbray Road Bridge, starting with the filled-in area where the orange and white cable conduits were recently installed. This was taken on the 22nd of June. And now a close-up of the northbound line. The southbound line is harder to spot, being obscured by the fence. This stanchion and this gantry are for the future overhead wires. So what do you think these construction workers are doing? Let me know in the comments below. It looks like they might be using compressed air to clear the holes, and then some kind of glue to secure the pins of the track fastenings. Whatever they're doing involves using these hoses, which seem to require a good whacking to work. As I thought, the gaps in the fencing on the east side are to allow worker access. This is now 8 days later on the 30th of June, and RTBU industrial action resulted in Tangara trains being used on all services, but luckily I found ones with reasonably decent windows. As you can see, many more fastenings are now alongside the tracks. On the fastenings, notice the pins that will go into the holes in the concrete track slab. I can't see any fastenings on the northbound line as yet. Closer to the tunnel, the horizontal bars have appeared on the northbound line, and it looks like some fastenings have gone in at every third set of holes. And we have a track vehicle at the northbound tunnel exit. Now in the other direction, also on a Tangara train with reasonably good windows. No obvious changes on the southbound line, and the northbound line is a little difficult to see. Here is another guy with a hose, although he seems to be giving it far more respect. Now 1 week later on the 7th of July, and here is a closer view of the horizontal bars that are temporarily keeping the rails in position on the southbound line. Work continues to insert fastenings into every third set of holes on both the northbound and southbound lines. As you can see, it's fascinating stuff. This is after 5 days of extremely heavy rain, so I was impressed by the progress. The rain would have been a great test for the drainage systems that were put in place over the last couple of years. At the northbound tunnel exit, the northbound track has now been welded to the track that was already in the tunnel. In the southbound tunnel, you can see the lights of a construction vehicle, along with the normal tunnel lights. No obvious changes to the new drainage channel that continues under the Mowbray Road Bridge to the end of the construction site. Here is a view of the southbound track a little closer to the tunnel entrance. So for the majority of both lines, there are now fastenings in every third set of holes in the track slab, so this seems like a good time to finish this update. There is another weekend track possession on the 30th and 31st of July, and further overhead wire equipment is planned to be installed then. This may also be when they connect the new tracks to the existing ones. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, please like this video, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and if you join my Patreon community for as little as $3 a month, you'll get interim Chatswood Dive site updates which are about every 7 to 10 days. To check this out, go to patreon.com/transportvlog or click or tap the card appearing on the top right now. Thank you for watching this video, and you'll hear and probably see me in the next one.